Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Ondiavari Presents, the series where I bring you the creepiest real-life stories and locations from around the world. Before we begin, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss a future episode. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Now sit back, turn off the lights, and let's begin. So, I thought it was about time I posted this on here, as it has slowly become more frequent, and I'd like someone's opinion. I'm sorry for the length of this post, but there are several occasions that my son has said strange things. I know my son has been here before. Everyone who meets him makes the same comment. Along the lines of he knows too much for his age. The first comment was a few months ago. We were walking the two dogs and he randomly said, "Mum, remember before when I was laying in that field and my face was in the mud and the gunshots going over my head? My feet were so wet." I stopped dead in my tracks. I replied that he had never been around guns and that he was only 6, so everywhere he goes, I'm with him. He was adamant it had happened and that he remembers crying and lying there hoping he didn't get shot. I tried to comfort him by saying it was probably a dream and that if he ever had a nightmare like that, he should wake me up and we could talk about it. He didn't say anything more about it for the remainder of the day. A few days later, we were eating dinner and he said, out of nowhere, "I remember when I picked you to be my mum." I asked what he meant and he said when he was laying in the mud with the gunshots, he doesn't remember anything from that point. He then said he was then a baby. And he was sitting on his bedroom floor playing with a toy car, and he heard banging outside the window, but the window had tape all over it. He heard a really loud bang, and then that was the end. And then he picked me. I think I'd probably turned pale shade of grey at this point. However, he didn't seem distressed by this, and I said, maybe it was a dream again. He shook his head and said, almost frustrated that this was before. I said, "What's before?" And he said, almost as if it was stupid of me to not know, "You know, Mum, before." I just nodded and agreed. But I was both confused and freaked. I spoke to people about this, and they all had the same opinion. That this is my son remembering past lives in the war. Obviously I knew what he was getting at, but I was so confused as to why he would know details such as taping windows to stop the glass from shattering back in WW2 here in the UK. But this wasn't the end of his before memories. A month or so ago, he was sitting with my grandfather, which is his great-grandfather, and he gave him a £5 note as pocket money. My son said thank you and was playing with the note. My son then pointed at a picture on the note and said to my granddad that the picture was a great Prime Minister. For those who aren't from the UK, the £5 note has a picture of Winston Churchill on it. My granddad was extremely taken aback by this and said that he was right. My granddad updated me on this when I came to pick my son up and to go home and asked whether it was something I had told him. I said no and thought it was possibly something that he was taught at school. At the next opportunity, I asked his teacher whether they were teaching the children about the war or past prime ministers, and she said no, they wouldn't teach them anything like that until they were around 9 or 10. Fast forward to 4 days ago. My son woke up at the usual time in the morning, but he looked exhausted. I asked if he was okay. He said he didn't sleep good. I asked why, and he said this: "A man woke me up. He was nudging my arm." I asked whether he knew this man and he said, yes, he was from before. By now I understand what he means by before. He said, he had a green suit on and some badges on his chest. He was smiling at me, but he was so white, Mum. I asked whether it scared him and why he didn't wake me up to tell me. He responded with, "I wasn't scared. He was nice, and I haven't seen him in a long time." We haven't said anything since. Yet. But please give me your opinions. My son isn't distressed by any of this, and he has spoken about past lives before this, as we are adamant he is a reincarnation of a friend who died, who we named him after. I have posted about this previously. I have heard many stories of children remembering things that are impossible for them to possibly know. But is this a case of the parents interfering with that by telling him he's a reincarnation of somebody? Or is this genuinely a child remembering past lives? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this presentation. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and remember to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. You can follow me on most social media and even chat with me over at the Outcast Discord server. If you really enjoy what I do, consider supporting me on Patreon from as little as $2 a month. There are rewards, sneak peeks, and other Patreon-only exclusives. There is now official Join the Cult merch available from Teespring, so be sure to check that out too. All links are available in the description below. Thank you again, and remember, it's always scarier when it's real. Good night.